So the broadcast receiver class. The broadcast receiver, it receives a broadcast that the program launches out, and it accepts it. It listens for it, and in this particular case with the weather report app, it listens for the boot completed broadcast, and that's pretty much alerts it that the device had started up and that it needs to restart the weather alert service. The broadcast receiver receives an intent from the weather alert service, and then it goes through the whole procedure of intent filter through the Android manifest file. In this case, it is used to send a notification to the user when a severe weather alert takes place. A broadcast receiver can change the activity, perform a task, or nothing based on the intent. So moving on, IPC and AIDL. IPC stands for Inter-Process Communication. It is Android's way for processes to communicate with each other. For example, intents are used to invoke another app. Android uses also binder objects, remote objects, and AIDL to do this. Speaking of which, AIDL stands for Android Interface Definition Language, used indirectly to access the iBinder class, which is used for interfacing remote objects. It's used when you want others to use some of your features of your app, like methods and any information that you need to give to another developer or app with the associated methods. But you really don't want your whole entire source code to be exposed. And so what you would do is that you would make an interface for others to derive from your app. And typically this is a file with the extension of .aidl, and in this file it has a stub class for others to use for interfacing. One creates this file in the package too, like a regular Java file. And here we have an example. This example is called iWeatherReporter.aidl. This is in the Weather Reporter app. As you see that you import the package, and then you have a stub class that's called interface iWeatherReporter, and here you have a string for getWeather4 in string zip semicolon. This is where you can give the outside developers or other people information about your method, and this also has some methods in here. And so note in this example, you must specify a directional tag in, out, or in, out. And for all non-primitive types, that's pretty much anything that's not a boolean, a byte, a short, an int, a float, a double, a long, or a char. You have to make sure you do this part. And also here on this table 4.5, Android IDL allowed types, it shows you what's allowed and whether or not you have to import it. As you can see, most of them you don't need to import because they are the primitive types, or it's a feature that's already allowed in the Android. And here in the bottom, the last two, the other Android interface definition language interfaces, those need to be imported, and so does parsable objects. AIDL. With AIDL, one can define package, imports, and methods with return types and parameters. Afterwards, the AIDL tool is used to generate three things automatically. This tool generates a Java interface, an inner static abstract class called stub, which extends the base class binder, an inner static proxy class inside the stub class. The stub class is the local part of one's remotable interface, while the proxy class is used to actually get the reference to a remote object, as in it returns a proxy. The following diagram shows the process of the Android AIDL. And so here is figure 4.6, which is the diagram of the Android AIDL process. First you start off with your AIDL file, and in this case it's the iWeatherAlertService.aidl. The IDL tool goes and then generates a Java interface, an inner static abstract stub, and an inner static proxy automatically. Then it goes on and it makes it goes on, and the local object stub is where other programs and other developers can have access to your methods and so on. And in this case is the iWeatherAlert service. And then on the other side is just a backend, the remote object proxies. That's just a backend thing that does. So AIDL, note to pass a custom object via IPC, you need to use a parsable class and create an AIDL file for each parsable interface. After the AIDL file is created and its files generated, the stub class is extended to implement your custom interface for others to use, but in order for others to see that interface, you use the service class, as in you have to extend the service class. In the example of the weather report app, the iWeatherReport.aidl file was created for others to communicate and use two methods to get the weather and add location. This is implemented by extending a service class, and for this example and the weather report app, this would be the weather alert service. And that's the gist of it, of that section. Furthermore, of the whole entire presentation, the most important concept would have to be the intent and intent filter. It is the center of it all. That's why it's important to take the time to learn it, because it's a crucial technique and skill in Android programming. So for more information, here are a few videos that may be helpful when you're using intents in your applications. The first link here, it demonstrates the use of intents to invoke an activity in a built-in Android application. And the bottom two here are two videos that demonstrate the use of an intent to invoke an activity that you may have created. Note that the intent is added in the second video, but it may be helpful to watch the first one. And so that's the end of the presentation. Thank you.